what can Vice President Pence do to assure Latin Americans that Trump isn't anti-immigrant? Can't do it. It's not possible. So all Vice President can do is be a good soldier and assure Latin Americans that basically we're going to continue bilateral trade. We're going to continue negotiating trade deals with you all. But at the same time, we're going to build a huge freaking wall to keep all of you out. That's a tough sell. What do you think? I think it's a real tough sell. The truth is, the United States just is always been discouraged by the tremendous amount of corruption in Latin America, where basically the corruption is so steep and so deep and so expensive that only the big boys can trade there. You have to have line of credits, and the only way to get paid is to have a fantastic banking relationship in Latin America with a Latin American banker who can squeeze payment out of the Latin American business. But fronting them 30, 60, 90-day billing in Latin America is not an easy thing, because it's going to be 120 days, 180 days to get paid fully. The only reason they will pay you in Latin America, if you're an American company, is because what you have, no one else has. Therefore, if they want it, they got to pay for it in order to buy it again. But when you have that real reality, like a John Deere, who's got great American agricultural products, the only competition they have are Chinese manufactured agricultural products. And the Chinaman, quite frankly, they'll do 180 days. But guess what? They'll get it all the business, because they'll pay everybody no problem. The ministers, the vice ministers, the mayors, the council, everybody gets paid off. And the Chinaman could care less. They want the business. And guess what? Guess what China really wants more than anything else? They want to export their number one export. Do you know what their number one export is? Tell me what you think the number one export is. You can call and leave me a message. 305-365-7777, better than a taxi. If you're from out of state, listening to any of the YouTube videos and the best of my concrete conservative segments on YouTube or on our website, wsqfradio.com, you can call toll free 1-844-645-WSQF. What is China's greatest export? It's Chinese people. It's not the products they make for you and I. It's Chinese people. They have so many Chinese people, they export Chinese people. Literally, they flood your cities, almost live in their own enclaves, almost build their enclaves by themselves, for themselves, and they basically employ each other. So the big Chinaman comes with a big Chinaman banker, builds a big Chinaman warehouse, and fills it with Chinamen, and then sprinkles it with your people and your country at some kind of bargain labor rate. And then boom, before you know, you have 100,000 Chinese people living in your city, manufacturing, not to send the finished product back to China. No. China only wants raw materials and minerals and mineral rights. And of course, oil, copper, nickel. They send back to the United States. You heard the crisis about fixing iron prices and aluminum prices and storing it all on the border, on the Mexican side of the border, crushing the steel industry in this country and the aluminum manufacturing industry in this country. It's true. Every once in a while, Trump blurts it out. The Chinaman is the biggest threat to the United States economy because they've got endless amount of cheap labor. What can't you understand, liberals, about that harsh reality? That's a grievance you'll never be able to answer. You'll never be able to increase American wages if the border's not sealed and the immigration system is not reinvented. by keeping the brilliant foreign student in the United States after they graduated from your university. Not letting them leave. Not by force or by coercion, but by benefits. Because why let good minds go to waste by educating them and then have them compete against you in China, manufacturing stuff for you? What happens to this country when, think about it, what happens to this country when their middle class has more buying power than our middle class? Come on. Come on. Think about it. What happens when they have more buying power? American companies will manufacture products for there first, and then come to the United States, sell products at inflated prices because they'll meet their bottom line in China. Think of a company that wants to expand into China that's made products in the United States. You think the Chinese government are cooperating? Are you kidding me? You gotta literally tell them what you make, teach them how to make it over there, and then you can sell it to the Chinese people after everything is done there. So think it's not. That's why there's a trade deficit, and that's not going to change. 1.4 billion, which I bet you the number is actually 1.6 billion. You know, it is what it is. You'll never get the right accurate number. I don't think they know themselves the right accurate number of their census. So imagine the Chinese census. Who in the hell can make that accountable? How can you make that system of counting Chinamen accountable? There's just no way. I heard there, without even us realizing, I heard there's a Chinese Chamber of Commerce in Homestead that's growing. Their influence is now being noticed. They're buying up all the $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 homes. Because one thing the Chinaman does is once he makes it, he wants to gamble it and buy all kinds of goodies. It becomes very materialistic, but once he makes it, big difference between them and us is that we want it all now, whether we earned it or not. We'll just swipe a credit card and go on. That's what we'll do. Fake it till you make it. That's the philosophy in America today. Fake it till you make it. Make it look like you're kicking ass. Fancy car, fancy shoes, fancy clothes, and you might be skunk broke. That's just the way we are. Make it now. Fake it till you make it. The Chinaman, no, man. They'll live on top of their Dairy Queen for years. And they'll buy homes all around, rental properties, and just really frugal because they grew up that way. Have you ever asked yourself why they grew up that way? Well, of course, obviously the tremendous amount of people. But they also are people whose agricultural history is in rice. And rice requires draining rice fields. That you go from the highest elevations down to the lower elevations, and all the Chinese farmers benefit from each other. The highest farm floods, then drains their rice fields. That's how you grow rice. That requires a tremendous amount of plowing and discipline and cooperating with one property owner, cooperating with another to cultivate rice. Anyway, so imagine that discipline in Latin America. I heard that there's mopeds, cars, and golf carts for a fraction of the cost here in the United States. I'm talking about half, 10%. Right now in ZEDM, which is the industrial zone of Mariel in Cuba. It's called La Zona Especial de Desarrollo de Mariel. La Zona, zone, especial, special zone for the development of Mariel. There's this manufacturer called Geely, which I've said before and I'll say it again. Manufacturing cars. Okay? Simple. And you know how much the car's going to be imported into the United States at some time in the future? $8,000. An $8,000 car. Better than a Kia, better than a Hyundai. Think about that. And we're going to be so broke by then that by the time those deals are forged, Castro's are dead, and there's this new liberal president, you know. You can already see it. Opening up a trade with Cuba, blah, 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 blah. And that car's going to come in there. And Imagine what the American automobile industry is going to look like when there's an $8,000 car made in Mariel, Cuba. You know, saying Mariel is, is consistent with me. It's totally my speed, but Mariel, that doesn't fly with MacontheRock, the concrete conservative. I got to say Mariel. When I say words in Spanish that are Spanish in origin, I should say them in Spanish. It reminds me of my friends that, call themselves or spell George instead of Jorge, they spell it George. Like George, like British George. And that just drives me crazy too. So, this is what's going on. And if we stabilize Latin American economies in Latin America, and we disallow what's going on in Cuba and Venezuela, think about that. Lift the arms embargo on Latin American economies too. Sell weapons to Colombia and all the other countries that want to join us. Because who is buying military equipment if it's not being purchased from the United States? Soviets. Call them Russia. I believe they're still Soviets because their mentality is the same. Anybody go to YouTube and see the Putin speech, by the way? In the Red Square, speaking to his military. Huge. I mean, it looked like the Third Reich, I swear to you. It's amazing. And Putin was just at it. He was just talking about the fertility rate in the country, how it's going down worldwide, and the United States and the European Union are participating in reducing the population of the world through homosexuality and genitalia mutilation. I mean, go to Google and see it. I watched it. It was a Putin finest, and you're going to tell me that Trump colluded with this guy? Are you kidding me? Jeez. I believe that the future of the United States relies in the economic development of Latin America with the United States, where you can't see light between us. It's either going to happen by force or happen under terms of American imperialist, capitalist jurisprudence and business ethos. You either do it the American way or you do it the hard way. The hard way would be that the majority of American citizens are Spanish speaking. 50 years has passed. You've been neglected to take me seriously. And the now Latin American, the American Colombian, American Venezuela, the American Argentine, just like the American Cuban, is now ruling you. Okay? Just simply. Think about it. When the majority of the United States are brown, because they're out reproducing Anglo-America, then they're going to do business the Latin American way. And it's not going to be nice. It's going to be full of corruption. Serious corruption. I'm talking about not being able to even go to court and get paid. Not being able to do anything by laws, if not by complete Chicago-style kickback. Because the Latin American world is a kickback, a giant kickback. And that only explains why the United States are reluctant to dedicate all its time, not some of its time, all of its time, to doing trade with Latin America. Why did we approach China? Think about it. Why did we approach China? Well, Nixon told us flat out, we're going to do business with China because if we don't do business with China, then Stalin and Mao will become the best of friends, communist friends, and between the two of them, they would be hard to beat. So these things were created to keep China open to our form of business. Because we knew the Soviets would eventually fall flat on their faces, but imagine they became an economic union. They share borders, so communism would prevail. Now communism is somewhat marginalized, But the real conversation we're going to be having one day